Welcome everyone, thanks for coming. This is the first presentation. It's not an advertising about Contentsquare. Yes, we're going to talk a bit about Contentsquare, obviously. I'm going to show you a little bit of it. But it's more talking a little bit about the lives we live today and how they are evolving and what it means for actually the digital side of customer experience. Fancy title always forces you to look smart, so I don't like the pressure that goes with the fancy titles. Let's have this discussion. Contentsquare today, just a few words, because it's important to me, because for me, it's more than a company. It's actually been a life adventure. I joined this company like nearly 9 years ago. It was in one country. It was less than 50 people. And now it's 1,800 people, and we've been able to convince nearly millions of customers to get there. So I can tell you there was a bit of luck in this journey. There was probably a clear vision and a lot of hard work to get there, to have all those companies that have now become Contentsquare customers. I don't show that again to show off. It's more like if you see some brands here which are interesting for you, we would be more than happy to put you in touch with them to understand their organization, their strategy, their results. And this is for the enterprise customers, so the biggest ones, but it's important to keep in mind that part of the Contentsquare technologies are also used by over 1 million websites, actually closer now to 1.5 million websites across the world. You can find Sweden, you can find the other Nordic countries in here, so it's approximately something like 25,000 clients which are using our technologies to, again, very simple mission, improve digital experience. We've been present in the region for years, and it's great. You know, it's chicken and egg, right? You never know what comes first, whether it's our commitment to the region and putting people on the ground, or whether it's just the fact that innovation is part of the DNA of that region. But ultimately, we now have tens of customers in the enterprise space, even more. And it's obviously a very good sign that we can gather such a wide community, not only of clients, obviously, but also of people which are interested in talking a little bit more about digital experience. Let's step back in time for a minute and let's talk about 2012. Important year for me, not because I was born then, but because it was the birth of Contentsquare. And you know what? It was also the time when it started to really accelerate. Back in the days, we mostly had websites, right? 15% of the traffic was on mobile, the rest was on desktop. But still, there have been some news in those years. That's the time where relationship building started to shift from something which was physical to starting, at least, virtual and digital. I don't know whether you remember that, but this is also the time when Netflix shifted totally, hopefully they did, from DVD renting to actually starting streaming. And actually, if you look at that time, this is also when Spotify was passing the approximately 3 million subscribers and started to accelerate. So it's been an inflection point, and obviously, more than ever, 12 years after, it's even more than that. Now, 60% of the traffic is on mobile. Now we spend something like 6 or 7 hours online. And obviously, what do we think? What are we exposed to every day? Digital experiences. They mix with physical, but they are super digital. And you know what? Some people are responsible for that. These are some very cool examples, by the way. Most of them are American, except for one. Very nice. Very nice to see that. They've been shaping the way we expect sites and apps to work. They've been raising the bar. Some of them, not all of them, have thousands of people which are involved in building digital experiences and tweaking them and making them better every day. We don't all have that, right? So how do we do when the expectations are raised by those people and we don't have that? Well, we still have to work on it, right? Because it's not Contentsquare that says that, it's actually Salesforce, customers, clients, the people you're talking to through your brands, and you as humans, as citizens, are expecting that. We're even ready to pay a little bit more for that. But we are really making part of the brand now, the experience we actually give online. And today is the present, but it's going to be very fast, very fast. since we go to the next phase. And the next 10 years, we clearly see it already, the way the technology is being built, the way the new apps and the new environment is setting the scene for intuitive and joyful personalization. We've been looking after a personalized way to interact for a decade or more. Now the technology allows to do that, and now clearly we see an expectation of having these very personalized interactions with the brand. Multi-channel, multi-touch, personalized depending on the moment that you feel it, because it's going to adapt in real time. Obviously, 20 years ago, websites were static, and now they are dynamic. Not dynamic to the point where they assemble on the fly, but this is what's going to happen. Depending on where you are in your journey, depending on where you are physically, you're going to have different websites and different apps which are going to present themselves differently. You're obviously not going to have the same expectations if you're in the metro and you're actually trying to see what you're going to buy in the next 2 minutes, and if you're at home window shopping. And those sites will have to understand that. And we will anticipate, and this is probably where AI is going to have a big push, because it's going to help us anticipate. Now, it was already cool to do that on desktop and mobile. Be ready, because we're going to have new interfaces. We can talk about wearables and those very smart devices, but just think about conversational interfaces and how big of a change that's going to be to interact with something that speaks to you like a human. And this is not a prediction, this is a wish. I wish we could do that without forgetting 3 key dimensions of our future. The way we build experiences. Remember that already today, only 30% of the experiences we build are accessible for everyone. 70% are not accessible with people with certain disabilities. It's something that if we don't take care of it, will probably amplify. Sustainable design. 1 million page views per month is actually the same carbon footprint as a flight from Stockholm to New York. 1 million page views, not a billion, 1 million. Why? Because we have more page views and because the traffic is rising? A bit. Mostly because the weight of a web page has been multiplied by 5 in 10 years. How can we change the design practices to take that into account? It impacts load time, but it also has an impact onto the carbon footprint. And obviously, we have to design privacy by design, goodbye cookies, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that totally changes also our digital strategies. So are we on track for that journey? On one side, yes, because if you ask today, across the room, all the marketeers, all people in charge of digital say that they will compete with customer experience. And it's visible, right? Every time I do a business review with some of our clients or I talk to executive committees, they tell me about the key KPIs that have been impacted thanks to investments in customer experience. But I don't know whether I should be happy about that or not. Happy because it's my business, not happy because it's clearly not a super good result after being 10 years in the business. We track approximately 40 billion sessions every year on our servers, and they pass through the Contentsquare servers, and we obviously analyze them to understand how people feel. This is part of our job. Guess what? 2 in 5 of those sessions have frustration signs in it. It can be UX, can be load time, can be a form that doesn't work well, but it's for 39% of the sessions that have frustration signs. With all the investments, all the commitment we've put in there, we are only 1/3 through. And when we ask to marketers if they are happy about the experience they give, well, it's not really the case. Only 12% are really happy about these experiences. Why? Let's face it, it's not that easy. It's hard to make it simple. 3 reasons for that. The expectations. Those logos that I showed you, they've raised the expectations. So now we are competing with them as a normal brand to be able to deliver the experiences that we expect on the other side of the screen. The second dimension is obviously technology. Technology hasn't helped a lot. It is clearly giving more power, more possibilities, but has with that come a level of complexity which intertwines with the complexity of the journeys, because the third factor is that we don't have now a journey with a product page and a cart and a checkout. We have interactions with the brands on the apps, which obviously is very different, and it's much longer than that. This is why it takes a lot of time to make it simple. And let me propose 3 hints for making it simpler. The thing we have to solve is it's very hard to get to a consensus on what you need to do for your experience if you had siloed data, dispersed sets of data. The second thing is we have to break the complexity. You have to have a PhD in applied math today to be a good digital marketeer. This is not going to scale to the level of the digital lives that we are building with our brands. And we don't have enough time. So we need to be able to choose what we need to do because nobody has infinite resources. This is what we do. We do those three things. We try to build data that is one set, one source of truth, simple, no 6 months to implement a tagging plan, no sensitivity to changes. We try to raise the insights to you, and we try to make that in the right order. Complete set of data, very important. Let's go beyond the clicks. Let's accept that you can't explain a behavior with a click. A click, it's 1% of an interaction, 99% happens before. It's the feelings, the intention, the context, your navigation. It's not the click. And let's stop with the guessing. You know what? Which one is performing best? This is what I'm going to ask to you. On engagement, do you think it's A or do you think it's B? A? I've got more B. It's A, more clicks. Load time, which one is loading faster? Who wants to say B? I've got a few Bs. You're right, this one loads faster. Conversion, which one converts? A converts less than B. But in terms of revenue, it's the same, it's B. Retention, who actually drives the most engagement? It's actually A. Those discussions, we have them every day, and we try to guess. What if we had the data? What if we had solutions that allow us to be able to get this level of understanding on customer behaviors to the point of making decisions in one click? What if it could be done across the teams, not just team by team and pulling into different directions, depending on the outcomes we want to drive? What if we could do that with one single platform? This is what we try and do at Contentsquare. And obviously, we are injecting AI into that. The 10x factor, this is our vision for being able to assist, being able then to automate with human supervision, and eventually get to full automation. Let me show you some very concrete examples about that in something like 5 minutes. Mini demo of Contentsquare. This is your website, and this is how Contentsquare works. You're onto this website, and actually, guess what? You want to try to understand the email marketing results of the campaigns by showing your homepage. We directly overlay the KPIs on it. Let's see the performance of the menus. Directly, I'm clicking on it, and I show the performance. I can verify the quality of my merchandising. I can detect areas of the site here which actually have a very high revenue attached to that. You don't need to go into tables anymore. You just click and you zoom and you scroll and you have directly at you the KPIs for making decisions. This one is showing that there is a nice revenue being made on that picture, which is probably 3 screens below on desktop. Great. How about verifying how it works on mobile? If I go to the mobile interface, let's log into Contentsquare. This is the mobile version of that same page. I'm going to ask Contentsquare, the smart button, to use machine learning to drill for me in that page directly without having to work the zones with the top revenue. I want to see which area of this page are driving the most revenue. It's the top of the page, obviously, but as we scroll down, we're going to discover that there are other areas which are actually driving a lot of revenue. By the way, same image as on desktop. Interesting to see the level of engagement that image drives. If we actually look onto the adjacent zones, we can verify whether it's just this zone, and it is the case. I start to have a zone which derives a lot of revenue and it's very low on the site. What if I was to look into other KPIs? So how many people see this zone is probably a good question, right? In one click, I can have the exposure rate, and it actually tells me that only 14% of the people see that zone. Well, is it driving conversion? And now I can stitch all the sessions of all the journeys of the same persons, and I can understand whether it's eventually going to drive conversion. Yes, it drives tremendous conversion when it is seen at a point in a journey. You can see how very simple insights can help you start to make decisions. If I'm a good product manager and marketing at that stage, I'm starting to think about good version of an A/B test where I'm going to try to have different versions. Let's do this. I've plugged Contentsquare into my favorite A/B testing tool. We integrate with a lot of tools. You can select it directly from the segments, and it shows you that you can actually go and select whatever A/B testing tool you use. Let's use, for example, Optimizely, which is one of our partners today, and we integrate directly with the different versions of the page. So when we apply that, on the right-hand side, we're going to be able to compare we have the control, the base version, the one which is on it. Let's select the variant. And automatically, when we select the variant, it's going to update the KPIs and show me the performance of the variant. Analyze, loading the page. Instantaneously, it starts to show you the same KPIs, but just on this version. I want to verify whether there is a revenue lift with this new variant. Let's choose it. Yes. There is clearly a revenue lift in this alternative version of the site. Now I can start to have one decision, very easy to make about my page, undisputable data that I can distribute to the team and make decisions. That's our vision, to be able to have insights in a matter of few clicks. Our vision is one click. We'll get there one day. There's still a few clicks to be done. And you remember the third part, which was how can we get to a point where we can also help you prioritize, select the things, because we don't have infinite resources. And this is why everywhere inside the Contentsquare platform, we've built what we call quantification. You find an insight, you ask the system, what if and what not? What if it loads fast and what if it doesn't? What if it's this content? What if it is this UX? And you can compare directly in one table the difference in conversion, the difference in absolute number of conversions, and eventually, if you're a merchant site, the revenue lift that you're going to get by making this change. So you start to have your list of insights, which starts to be prioritized because you have undisputable shared data among your teams to make decisions based on the revenue or other metrics. It can be loyalty that happens on it. All that is progressively powered by AI. We already have that for the alerts, but we are introducing also a Copilot inside Contentsquare, where instead of browsing through the menus, you're talking directly to Contentsquare and asking, for example, how many new users have actually signed up last week, and it will automatically assemble the answer for you with a graph. We have refined this model now, and you're going to ask, what is the reasoning you followed for that? And he's going to explain to you what he or she did as an AI. I never know whether it's masculine or feminine. And eventually shows you what it is that was the reasoning to get there so that you can also learn how to use better the solution. We've talked a lot about technology. I'd like to say it's all about technology by software. It's all about people. And we wouldn't be here talking to you about digital experience if there was not people around the room which are making probably, I hope, fingers crossed, this company a slightly different company, a company which is animating a passionate community about digital experience. Again, respectful of privacy, respectful of sustainable design, which help customers to get in touch together to progress onto this big challenge of digital experiences. And we do that with a strong focus on our customers. This is why we are here face to face, and we also have a live version. But until we are Contentsquare, there's still going to be a live version of it, probably with a DJ at the end. That's part of our culture too. I want to make sure you spend a few minutes with us and our partners at the end of the day at the booth or when we have a breaks, because we've got so much thing to show you, including, for example, how we build surveys with AI on the fly to match a specific objective of question you ask yourself about the quality of your site. Thank you.